This is AM Agenda. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Join me now, Liberal MP Alex Hawke and Labor MP Ed Husic. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Ed, on interest rates, obviously we're all looking at the big banks now to see what they're going to do, but Joe Hockey makes a valid point, doesn't he, that the rates are now nearing what the government described as emergency levels during the global financial crisis. It doesn't really reflect a booming economy, does it?
That was a shocker of an interview that Joe Hockey did on the project last night, where he effectively gave the green light to banks not to pass on the full cut. I mean, we've had, if you're on a $300,000 mortgage over the last 12 months, you've been able to get a boost of $2,500. It's better in the pockets of households and small businesses than the banks that are doing quite well, thank you very much. Joe Hockey suggesting they should keep some of the cuts wrong, and this suggestion that it's like, you know, in terms of reference to your question as well, you know, that was at a particular point in time where world economies were seizing during the GFC. So, you know, talk about taking it out of context. The only time the Libs ever talk about GFC is when it makes or reinforces a negative point they have. Otherwise, they airbrush it out.
But Ed Husic, as a barometer of where the economy's at, it shows that the RBA is obviously worried about the trajectory in China, and it just belies an economy which is not as strong as the government had made out, doesn't it?
Well, I think our economy can be stronger, and I think the thing is that the interest rate cuts, and I've been on the record previously pushing that we should be seeing more cuts to you know, spur along the economy, because really, you know, monetary policy is where it's at in terms of giving the economy a further boost. You won't really get that out of fiscal stimulus. So I'm all for further cuts to interest rates. And
Alex Hawke, your thoughts? You'd obviously be calling on the big banks like others to pass this on in full?
Yeah, well, of course, ideally, but I think Ed's not living in the real world. If he walked down the main street of his local electorate or asked any householder or business in his electorate, nobody's paying the cash rate. And the point that the Shadow Treasurer is making is very correct. I mean, the world economy is in a bad way, and the Reserve Bank is concerned about the Australian economy and is cutting rates in effect to stimulate and allow people to continue economic activity. The Reserve Bank made another.
Might not.
Well, they may or they may not. That's a matter for them. That's going to be a matter completely for them. But what I am saying is the Reserve Bank made another very important point. The Reserve Bank Governor Glenn Stevens said that consumer prices had been increased by the carbon tax and would continue to be increased for many quarters to come. So the Reserve Bank is obviously concerned about the impact of the carbon tax on consumer prices, and that's why our main policy is to remove the carbon tax, to take that pressure off consumer prices. That is worrying the Reserve Bank.
Let's move on to the Jones backlash. Alex, you were there at that function. I don't think many people that were at the function have spoken publicly about it. You've been critical of the comments. I know that you issued a statement. Are you surprised, given the reaction, the financial implications for 2GB now, just how this has unfolded from the events of that night that you attended a couple of weeks ago?
No, I think I've come out and condemned the comments for that exact reason, that they are unpalatable publicly. I am surprised at the procession of Labor government ministers that have come out in an attempt to take political advantage from this situation, including people like Kevin Rudd. I mean, if we had a private recording of Kevin Rudd's thoughts on the Prime Minister, I'm sure we'd have a very graphic set of comments about the Prime Minister. So it's quite hypocritical for some people to be coming out and saying, oh, you know, Alan Jones is terrible, but figures like Bob Ellis from the Labor side of politics, who've said just as equally bad things about the Prime Minister, shouldn't be condemned. And, you know, I challenge all Labor MPs and ministers to come out and join what we have done and condemn Alan Jones and the comments about the Prime Minister's family by condemning Bob Ellis and his equally bad comments and offensive comments about the Prime Minister.
Ed Husic, is there a bit of hypocrisy here, as Christopher Pyne pointed out, that Mr Rudd, when in opposition, did seek a fair bit of Alan Jones' time on air?
Well, Kieran, I think this whole episode's done one thing, and an important thing, and that is put a spotlight on the fact that we keep edging away from having civil political discourse to one that thinks that someone grieving the death of their father is fair game for comment at a political fundraiser. I just think it's wrong. I mean, I agree with Alex that we should, you know, have a zero tolerance on intolerance, a zero tolerance on these type of comments. And I'm just as appalled as I am about what Bob Ellis has said. Mind you, he's not running for PM or whatever, but like I'm appalled by those comments. I'm equally appalled that someone as prominent as Alan Jones can say what he says. And the fact of the matter is, the reason that the Liberal Party dragged the chain on this is because he makes them stacks of money in fundraisers, and they're not exactly going to turn that tap off. So they've got to be fair income. Condemn it quickly, and do it with sincerity. And instead of having the type of apologies that are provided through gritted teeth that we've seen in the last 48, 72 hours.
Kevin Rudd called for a boycott of the program. Is that a way to deal with it, do you think? You just stop the feed? Would you not go on the program, Ed?
I think it's up to individuals to make the choice. You know, my personal opinion is about, regardless of people's different political viewpoints, like I think having discussions about ideas and trying to basically make sense of differing viewpoints is important. I wouldn't necessarily boycott it. That's just my personal view. But I do think that there are a lot of sponsors that don't want to be associated with the type of commentary that Alan Jones has, and I just think it's the Liberal Party should declare GB broadcasts in many respects, from the Alan Jones perspective, because it's just a total free plug for the Libs.
Alex Hawke, when it comes to you've heard what Ed said there. He's done what you called on the Labor people to do, so no doubt you'd welcome that. When it comes to the event itself, there was a chaff bag that was signed by Alan Jones that was auctioned as well. What was the nature of the event? Was there that sort? Describe it to us, because it does sound, you describe the comments as unpalatable, but a few of the other things there too don't sound too great either, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why it's a university club. University clubs go on all around Australia, and I'm sure there's many undergraduate sort of things happen at all of them, including this, which was ironically a go at Alan Jones itself. Having a go at stupid comments that he had made in the past. It was meant to be lighthearted. Given the nature of his further comments, obviously that's not going to be seen. However, I do think it is good that Ed Husic has condemned Bob Ellis, and I do think that Anthony Albanese and Nicola Roxon and all those people who want to pretend to set a standard in Australian politics also should call on Bob Ellis to apologise. The point is, Alan Jones is apologising. We have condemned the comments on one side. We have seen in the public domain for a long time now comments from the Treasurer about the former leader of the Labor Party, including calling him a psychopath. I mean, that is not civil public discourse that is being said by the Labor Party.
I've only got about a minute left, but I want to get Ed's thought on the Peter Slipper-Ashby matter. We've heard from Chris Pine before. I think it's appropriate to get Labor's view on this as well. Do you think, Ed, that once this is dealt with through the court, that Peter Slipper should be returned to the chair?
No, I prefer to let it run its course. I mean, one thing that Christopher Pine said that jarred with me is the suggestion that it's some sort of admission that there was something in what was being made of the claims. I mean, you've heard the Attorney General say, that $750,000 had been expended on this so far, and you need to draw a line in the sand over it, and that's what has happened. I think that's a prudent course of action.
Ed Husic and Alex Hawke, gentlemen, it's good to see you both. Thanks for being there this morning.
Thanks, Kieran.
And that's all for AM Agenda. The news is next.